Good morning everyone. It's April the 21st, so late spring, mid-spring, and the apple trees are in full bloom. As you can see, the blossoms are out, it's all very nice. This is part 2 of my series of videos on apple tree grafting, and particularly what to do after you have done the grafting process. And today we're really going to look at the different rates of progression between different tree varieties, and how to manage that and how to deal with that. And really, this is about keeping confidence, keeping the faith with the grafts that you've done, because whilst others may flourish and thrive very early, other varieties may be very, very slow and somewhat tardy in comparison. And we'll look at some of those right now. The apples that I have in front of me here, I grafted myself. As I say, these 3 Ben's Reds that you see here in front of me, tree number 1, 2 and 3, these are all Ben's Red. That's a very old Cornish variety of apple. There aren't many of them around, which is why I'm keen to replicate them and get them down in Cornwall. All are on an MM111 rootstock, and all of the scions came from the same parent tree from central Cornwall. Now you can see that the rate of progression versus some of the other varieties, you can see down there we have some Cornish aromatics, Sturma pippins, Egremont russets, which are all in full leaf. These, by contrast, are very, very slow in comparison. And let's just look at some of the specifics. This one here at the back, you can see the top bud is really just starting to come into leaf now and progress nicely, and the buds beneath it are swelling. So my concerns that none of these Ben's Reds were going to progress and form trees just a week or so ago was the wrong perception. The trees are absolutely fine, the scions are fine, they're still alive even though they were grafted at the back end of January, and the trees are pushing on. If you compare it with this other example of the same variety, as I say, same parent tree, same scion, same rootstock, the level of progression is much slower. Now there could be many reasons for this. Obviously this variety is a little more tardy than some of the others, but this scion that I've put onto the rootstock is way too long. That's a schoolboy error by me. I'm learning this as I go. Really, you'd want to limit this to 3 or 4 buds on the scion. That's what I certainly did with the later grafts that I made. But even on this long scion, you can see here that the top 2 buds are swelling very nicely and coming into leaf. So again, we have a Ben's Red that I thought was dead just a week or so ago, which is actually very much alive and wanting to grow. The third Ben's Red example is here. Now this is a much shorter rootstock, as you can see, but there is little to no progression. Now the buds do not look to be in great order, and as a result of that, what I'm doing and what I recommend you do is I'm not taking out this leafy growth that's emerged from the rootstock. So this isn't the Ben's Red growth, this is all growth from the rootstock, the MM111 rootstock of whichever variety it was, and the reason I'm leaving this on, if I lose this scion, what I want to do, I want to train this new growth so that I end up with quite a tall rootstock that I can then trim and adjust, ready for grafting next year. Now these buds may push on, they may not. It's 50-50 at the moment, I would say, based on what's happened with the other Ben's Red varieties. So we'll see. And actually I've left this leafy growth on this tree as well. As you can see here, I haven't knocked out all of the buds on the rootstock, because if this does fail, as I say, it gives me a chance to get some more growth on the rootstock, so that I have some rootstock for next year to grow. So that's the Ben's Red. I thought they were all dead, still alive. Certainly 2 of them are, and will hopefully turn into very healthy trees. If we move on, these 3 trees here, 1, 2 and 3, are all Howgate Wonder. Again, you can see very mixed levels of progression between the trees themselves. So they all came from the same parent tree. In fact, this is the parent tree. This is a Howgate Wonder in our garden. It's a fabulous tree. It produces in excess of 150 apples per year. Some of those apples are over 17 ounces. They're huge, and they're a great dual purpose apple. So we want to get some of these down to the orchard in Cornwall. And you can see, despite having lots of commonality in terms of the rootstock that they're grafted onto, these again are all on an MM111. We want a vigorous growing tree, a full standard or half standard tree for this type. But you can see the progression is very varied between them. We have the first one here, which is in some really nice leaf, and yet the others, by contrast, are being very slow to develop. This one's come good now. You can see the leaves are very nicer than that one. And on this one, I was concerned about this because we'd had some quite substantial dieback on the scion. You can see here the colour of the wood has changed at the top, and actually you can see that discoloration is again down here at the bottom. So all of this part of the scion is dead, but we have two shoots that have come out just at the very bottom end of the scion, which means again that we can have confidence that this tree will survive. Again, as on the Ben's Red, I had left the top bud of the rootstock on. You can see I've nipped off the others, but again, in case this fails, I am going to leave that on so I can push the rootstock up if I need to. But all being well, these two shoots that you can see will progress and get to a point like it's very healthy sibling down here below. Okay, so that's Howgate Wonder. You can see here Sturma Pippin. Again, this tree has suffered some, or this scion has suffered some dieback. Don't worry about that. You will always get some dieback on the scion unless you have a top bud, as you can see here on the Ben's Red and the Howgate Wonder. I think I actually prefer grafting with a top bud because you just get a nice straight tree. But you know, here we've got two very healthy shoots on this Sturma Pippin. Yes, this has died back. I will do a follow-up video on how to manage dieback, and that will lead us very nicely into how to train the trees, because we won't keep all of the shoots on the trees. We want to focus the tree's energy onto the main leader to get as much growth as possible, and on the knitting of the union. So some dieback here, don't be afraid of that, it's going to happen. And finally, just a quick note on quality of scion wood. This is a Wyken Pippin. I got the scion wood from a friend. It's not great scion wood. In fact, it could even be 2-year growth. And because the quality was quite poor, it's all that was available to us. It's not a particularly vigorous growing variety. I cleft grafted 2 scions onto this rootstock. This is an MM106. And I didn't really expect much to happen here. You can see on this first rootstock, this first scion, there's really, that's the wrong one actually. This one here, there's really not much happening in terms of growth and development. But by contrast, if you look at the other branch, we have a very nice bud that's swelling there, and again at the top here. So one of those 2 scions, despite not being of the best quality, have come on and are turning into a tree, which is great because this is the only Wyken Pippin I grafted. Again, that's a very old Midlands apple. Wyken is a town in Coventry, I think. This was popular all over the Midlands until the mid-19th century, when they were all but taken out. So this is quite a rare variety now, so really great that we've got this grafted. We have some life, we have some growth. We'll do our very best to keep this tree moving on. Now you compare that to this leafy structure you see next door. That's a Cornish aromatic, you know, grafted on the same day, same weekend, very different in terms of progression. So don't lose faith. If you're not seeing much growth, stick with it, keep it going. You'll know by certainly mid to end of May whether they're going to be survivors or not. So have confidence, stay with them, and yeah, stay tuned for another video on looking after your grafts into the spring. See you next time.